The birds sleeping in the boughs, the tiny creatures crawling in the earth. It would be so easy to cross the bridge, to pass between the stones, to enter the forest. Every piece of me yearned to take that first step forward, to plunge back into Moorgrain, as if I were returning to my grandmother's welcoming arms. Even if what I was feeling from the land didn't exactly qualify as welcome. Slitted eyes watched us from the darkness, and behind sharp fangs rumbled a growl too low for human ears to hear. The same song the trees whispered, the words resonating in the earth. You can't go home. Hey, Ash said, her voice low and rough. Don't do it. She kicked you out, remember? How could you tell what I was thinking about? I asked ruefully. You had this glazed look. She lifted her head, keen as a dog pricking its ears at distant voices. Wind makes it hard to hear if they're coming. You sure you can't feel anything? Maybe if I were closer. Ash knew as well as I did that we were supposed to stay on this side of the bridge. The last thing the Empire wanted to do right now was rile up the living border to wrath by a perceived display of aggression. She chewed her cheek a moment, thinking. At last, she let out a puff of breath. All right. I hate standing in the light anyway. Makes us a target. We crossed the bridge, pacing its stones between overlapping pools of light as the river rushed in darkness beneath us. There was no point in trying to be stealthy in our approach. My grandmother could sense my presence. As both a demon and a witch lord, she could kill us in the blink of an eye if she chose. Once, I would have said she'd never do that. Now, I couldn't be sure, and that uncertainty was like a ragged hole that let the bitter wind in through a favorite old coat. You realize they could all be dead, Ash said conversationally. We could be waiting here for nothing while the wolves eat them. The last batch of refugees made it through all right, I pointed out. Ash snorted. Bit scratched and dented, and that was without an ominous warning first. The warning was why we were here, my mother's note, just a scrap of paper, a torn-off corner dropped in my lap by a sparrow this afternoon. It had said simply, expect trouble. So, we'd come down to watch at the bridge, instead of waiting for the refugees in the warm castle. Ash, because she was adept at trouble herself, and me to try to pacify my grandmother if necessary. The rest of the rookery were stuck in a meeting consulting with the Imperial Falcons on potential anti-demon enchantments. There'd been a lot of those lately, peppered between outings to investigate fruitless tips on the location of the Demon of Hunger, and the occasional quick jaunt to deal with an alchemical accident or a forgotten artifice trap left over from centuries-old border wars. I just hope we're enough, I muttered. If we're not, then numbers wouldn't matter anyway. She had a point. If my grandmother truly wanted to kill the fleeing Imperials, they'd already be dead. Ash fell a step or two behind me as I passed beyond the light of the bridge and crossed the brief open expanse of weedy grass to the looming edge of the forest. The boundary stones stood so close I could almost touch them, vibrant with power, marked with my grandmother's blood, to close the circle of her grasp around Moorgrain. The forest exhaled its soft breath over me, scented with pine and decaying leaves and the soft musk of living things. I closed my eyes and breathed it in, almost weak with longing. Something was coming. A shiver of anticipation ran through the forest at the very edge of my senses. The trees rustled as if the wind surged, but the air lay still. An owl stretched its wings, staring down the road. Small creatures woke from sleep and lifted wary heads to blink around them. Here they come, I whispered. Ash rolled her neck. Time to find out if this is going to be a mortal danger sort of evening, or a drinks by the fire sort of evening. Far down the road,